All right, very good. I'd like to call to order the September 18th meeting of the City of New Bern Planning and Zoning Board. If you please will stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of our country. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. Thank you very much. Kendrick, can I get a roll call, please?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to start with Board Member Danielle Peoples.
Here.
All right, Board Member Kip Paragoy.
Here.
Chairman Brad Jefferson.
Here.
Board Member Kelly Kaiser.
Here.
Board Member Thomas Brownell.
Here.
And Board Member Marshall Ballard. Board Member Marshall Ballard.
Say you're here. You're here. Here. Just say here.
You said again?
Say you're here. You're
Oh,
here.
here. I'm sorry. I thought you said from that end from that. Okay.
And Mr. Chairman, just to include for the record, Vice Chairman Rusty Ingram has stepped down and resigned as of, I believe it was either last week, if I'm not mistaken, it's about a week and a half ago.
Yes.
But other than that, we do have a quorum for this meeting.
All right. Thank you, Kendrick. You stepped all over my chairman's remarks, but that's okay. It's not a big deal. It's all right. What is the pleasure of the board on approving the agenda?
Make a motion we approve the agenda as submitted.
Second.
Having a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. As Kendrick just mentioned, in terms of my chairman's remarks, I want to thank Rusty Ingram for his contributions to this board. Spent a lot of time on here, but we understand he is off to greater pastures, so we wish him well. And we hope that we get someone in the future to replace him that maybe is equally talkative to have the meetings. But we need a place for him, and we need a place to replace the other gentleman as well. So we have 2 seats open. And with that, that's the end of my chairman's remarks. No, actually, I'm not going to do that. So with that, I'll go on to our action items, our one and only action item, 6A, 207 South Glenburnie Road rezoning. Kendrick, do you have a presentation for us?
Thank you again, Mr. Chairman, and good evening to the board. I'll start off with our first action item and only action item here. This is 207 South Glenburnie Road rezoning. And the request summary here, the applicant and owner is H&M Real Estate Investments, LLC. The location here, again, is 207 South Glenburnie Road, New Bern, North Carolina. The current zoning is Industrial 1, or I-1, and the requested change zoning, or the requested change zoning 2 is for Residential 10, or R-10. The parcel identification numbers are listed there. I'll allow for you to just view those. And the size approximation is 0.9 acres. And for the industrial district, essentially to sum it up in a short gist, it allows for your more certain outdoor amusement facilities, which generate larger volumes of traffic normally, or at least automobile traffic, and then the regulations are still designed to prohibit any heavy industrial usages that pertain to uses that are more intensive, if you will, for industrialization, if that makes sense. Residential uses in these districts, you should understand, are only permitted through the issuance of a special use permit. And the Residential 10 or R-10 zoning district analysis basically is essentially kind of somewhat of the opposite. Of course, it promotes for single or 2-family homes that are essentially designed for 10,000 square foot lots, hence the 10 for the Residential 10. And then following that, it is to also encourage the use of the land for residential purposes, to prohibit commercial and industrial uses of the land, and then to prohibit any other use which would substantially interfere with the development or continuation of single and 2-family dwellings in that district. It discourages any use which would generate traffic on minor streets other than normal traffic to serve residences on those streets. And the last thing, it's discouraging any use which, at least as far as for the character and size, would create requirements and costs for public services such as police and fire protection, water supply, and sewage, and substantially in excess of such requirements and costs if this district were developed solely for residential purposes. And here is a uses comparison chart, just to give you some ideas as to how certain uses are authorized or permitted in the Industrial 1 district versus how they are authorized or permitted in the Residential 10 district. And following that, we have our first map here. This is a vicinity map, and it reflects both parcels that are in question for tonight. And that's followed by our buffer map. This buffer map takes a 100-foot radius of the folks that are within the range of this to make sure that they are notified, just in accordance to what the notice requirements ask of us to make sure of. And the aerial map here, which gives you a reflection of what's on the ground currently. And we also have the zoning map here, which again, you can see where that I-1 color is, just to reflect what its current zoning is. Across the street, more so geared towards the western side, that lighter yellow is your R-10, and if I'm not mistaken, the darker yellow is your R-6. The darker gray is your industrial 2. So I know that's kind of a bit of a smorgasbord, but you do have a multitude of districts that are within this area. And the action needed would be the adoption of the consistency statement, a recommendation for the Board of Aldermen, and I have examples for each listed below. If the board has any questions, I'm glad to take those at this time.
Does the board have questions for Kendrick?
The property right now has a single-family dwelling on it.
I am trying to recall. I believe you are correct. I'm not sure if it is vacant or if it is currently being used. If I remember when I
It has a for sale sign out in front of it right now.
Gotcha. And that's what I was going to say. I feel like I remember seeing a sign when I was posting my sign for the property, so I'm not sure if it's actually being used right now. But I think you're correct. I think it is just for sale.
Is the applicant here this evening?
Yes, sir. To my knowledge, they're right behind me.
Okay.
And hopefully they'll probably be able to talk more on that.
Kendrick, just to the left of that property, do we know what that building is? The parking lot?
I do not.
It's a food service company.
Yeah, I was going to say my assumption is
Food service?
some type of business, because most of these have businesses that are
Right.
very immediate around
Okay.
in this location, but you also have residential that's across the way from it. So,
Any further questions for Kendrick? All right. Thank you, sir. And just for clarity, we're going to, next is public comment. That's limited to 3 minutes each. And then following that is the applicant's comments. So with that, I'll open it up to anybody in the audience that would like to speak for 3 minutes public comment. Kelly, your husband doesn't want to speak to it? No. Okay. That's too bad. All right, roger that. With that, I'll move on to is the applicant here, and would they like to make any comments on this matter? It's not required, but if you would like to, you're welcome to. Just come up, introduce yourself. And,
Okay. So my name is Maria Shepard. Me and my husband own H&M Real Estate Investments, and we're the ones that pertain to 207 South Glenburnie Road. I don't have any comments, but if you have questions for me, then I'm willing to take those.
Okay. Board have questions?
Why are you requesting this change? I mean, I don't understand. You're surrounded by industrial activities, commercial activities. Why do you want to go to an R8 here when you already have a single-family dwelling on this property?
Yeah, so the single-family home, it is for sale right now. So in order for someone to buy it that is going to do a regular loan, whether it be a VA loan or a regular mortgage, then they won't be able to purchase it because it's zoned industrial right now. So they won't be able to get approved for a loan with an industrial property. it would have to be a commercial loan. And it's not really, it's a home, so it's not a good spot for an office. It's already set up as a home. If that's what you're asking. And I can
Yeah, I mean, it's surrounded by very active and some of it very heavy-duty commercial activity. And you got the home there, why it would be need this change.
So another thing that I want to mention is, so my husband and I actually own ProServe Food Equipment, which is right next to it. That one's under H&M Real Estate Investments as well, so to the right of the property. Mm-hmm. And we were thinking about getting a storage garage out behind our building, and we weren't able to get it approved because it's a flood zone right there, so it would have to be raised. So that's another thing, is whoever buys it, if the home doesn't stay there, I don't know that a business would go there, an industrial business would go there and raise it that high. I don't know what kind of use if they would get to the full potential of the land because of that flood zone being right there.
If the intent here is to sell the single-family house so that it can be used, continue to be used as a residence, and a person could get a loan, would there be any thought or consideration on your part to go to a 10S instead of just a 10?
Can you explain that to me? What the difference would be?
Yes, ma'am. So as far as for what Mr. Kipp is saying, so 10S just means specific to single family. It would eliminate the two-family factor from being able to be established.
Okay.
But it's still a home, but it's specific to being a single-family residence.
Okay. Yeah, that would be okay.
Yeah.
Come on in.
I'm Jared Shepard, and the biggest thing is because we bought both properties together when we purchased the building for ProServe. It came with the house. We actually had an employee rent it for a while, and now we have an employee that actually wants to buy it from us and live there. So we're actually trying to provide him a home, but he wasn't able to get the loan because it's under industrial. So that's one of the biggest reasons we want to change it over. It's to provide him with a home. He's a good employee to us. He really wants to live there. He likes the house, so that's basically why we're here, if that helps.
That explanation is really helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? All right. Thank you very much. And with that, I'll turn it over to the board for discussion.
You know, before we heard from the applicant, I was thinking about this in terms of tax implications for the city, and if there's industrial use opportunities in the future, that likely comes with more tax benefit to the city. And so if we were to downzone this area, taking away what we've just learned from the applicant, you know, it takes away that potential tax benefit that would come from an industrial use. But having the explanation and the consideration for the loan need does make me think about this a little differently.
Yeah, and my initial reaction to this was, this is crazy to do a 10 in here where you could put duplexes or an apartment complex surrounded by the uses that are currently there. I mean, that didn't make sense at all. But if the intent is to maintain it as a residence so that it can be utilized by their employee or whatever, and that's also a requirement for obtaining a mortgage for the property, it kind of changes things. But again, for the future, because if we do a 10 in the future sometime, the back part, the whole thing, the house could be done away with, and we could have duplexes and apartments in there on that 9/10 of an acre. And that's why I brought up 10S, so that it limits the use of that particular piece of property to single-family dwellings at 10,000 square foot per lot, which would limit this piece of property down to about 3 single-family houses, looking past the immediate solving of their problem for their employee, trying to look further down to what could happen. You know, that's kind of the conundrum that the zoning board always gets in. What's going to happen? What can happen 5 years from now? And so we have to consider that. And so that's why I'm leaning towards a recommendation to rezone to a 10S instead of a regular 10. Well, I wanna
Mr.
hear
Chair,
the
just
rest
to
of
be
the board.
clear, I think the applicant indicated that they would be okay with R10S. I don't know if they're revising their application to request R10S or what their position is. So I think we need to clarify that for purposes of the record.
Could they do that tonight if that was their choosing?
Yes, sir. I hear heads shaking, but we may want them to come to the microphone.
Head shaking is not going to work.
I don't know if I'm allowed to speak back there or if I should come up here and only speak up here.
Up here with the mic is better, yes.
Okay. So yes, I would be able to do that tonight and revise the application if need be.
So the application before us, based on the representation by the applicant, is that the request for rezoning is now to R10S. Is everybody clear on that?
Yes.
R10S. R10S.
Yes.
Okay.
I can't hear nothing.
In the future, if somebody wanted to, you know, if this gentleman goes on and continues to buy the house, and we know how that goes, but let's say he does buy the house, but then he wants to sell it, and somebody wants to do some industrial in there, they could then ask for it to be rezoned, right, to industrial, and then you could, I think, I probably won't be on the board then, but that would be, you know, potentially reasonable to me, but that would be for a future board to decide. Because it is an industrial area. I mean, let's be honest, that whole area is and always and has been for a while. Though I do understand, I mean, there's a house there. So for whatever reason, I don't know how it got there, but there is a house there.
I mean, we're basically validating a non-conforming use. It's there now.
Yeah.
With the change in zoning.
Yeah, fair enough. That's my comments on this. Does anybody else have any further comments on this?
And maybe it's a question for Kendrick. If there are industrial adjacent properties, could this prohibit them from required setbacks from residences if they wanted to do something that was special use in the future? And what if?
I'm trying to make sure I'm understanding you right. Are you talking about the properties that are in question right now? If they went to R-10S, and then are you saying it doesn't impact the surrounding properties?
If adjacent properties that are already zoned industrial would have setback requirements from residential uses, or if there's like a special use that they were to move forward with, what could it prohibit those currently industrial zone properties from doing industrial activities in the future?
Gotcha. I'm not aware of anything specific from the land use ordinance that would prohibit them. They would still have to be respective to the natural zoning district, which is industrial, and they carry very far setbacks to begin with. If I'm not mistaken, I want to say it's 50 feet from the front, 35 on the sides, and 25 on the rear, if I can recall correctly. So I'm not aware of anything that would be a detriment to those adjacent properties. They would still have to meet the natural setbacks.
I think there would be some buffering requirements against an R.
Yeah, if they're doing anything that's new construction, it's coming with buffering requirements, but the buffer with the yard is 10 feet inward, and it operates on a whole chart that we have, so where we kind of assess based on what the adjacent uses are. So Mr. Kipp is correct. You may get a stronger buffer requirement, but even so, we give a combination of flexibility in that buffer, so they still have the opportunity to establish it relatively easily. So it's not really impacting them, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think about, for the long term, any consequences we're not thinking through.
That is what we are supposed to do, and as well as the Board of Aldermen. You know, it's, I appreciate the specific circumstance, but that isn't really supposed to be, all part of the discussion. Any other comments? What is the pleasure of the board on this item?
I would make a motion that we recommend to the Board of Aldermen approving a zoning classification of R10S as has been amended by the applicant, and the findings that the proposed amendment is consistent with any comprehensive or applicable land use plans and determined to be reasonable and in the public interest.
They have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. With that, we'll move on to new business. Is there any to be heard this evening from anyone? No new business? All right. Any staff comments?
The only thing that I just wanted to mention is there is 2 rezonings that are currently being processed, so we will have a meeting next month. I cannot recall that meeting date at this very moment, but
Okay.
you'll get the same information ahead of time. And that's it.
All right. Awesome. Thank you, Kendra. With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion we adjourn?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We all adjourn. Thanks, everybody.